Still doing connecting. And we should be live. Let me see if this is gonna... Are we live or are we not live? Can someone see?
You're live, but you have
Nobody
no picture.
can see, but no picture.
Go to gallery view.
Yes, exactly. So it's all my fault. Hey guys, give us just 1 second and we will be, because nobody wants to. It is gallery view.
Okay. It is?
Yeah, let me see.
It's not. It's not.
Right. It's always.
There we go. Yes.
Okay, we are?
Now it's
Excellent.
gallery.
Excellent. Okay, very good. Let me turn off this other screen. There we go. Hey, everybody. I'm Baby Yoda today. I'm sorry, my video is not working. You'll just have to live with me. We missed you. It's been like a month since we've been in live on the hot seat in the 1%. And to compensate, we're going to have 3 back-to-back sessions this month, every Wednesday, this Wednesday, and then the 2 ones coming afterwards.
Hey, Bram, turn your video on even though Baby Yoda goes away.
Okay.
And then you'll show up on Facebook. Right now, it's just Dominic and I.
Okay. So
and
people are wondering who's this other person talking?
Yes.
It's me. All right. So anything else you want to add, Greg, before we start talking to Dominic?
No, thanks for joining us. And if you're interested in hopping on with us on the hot seat sometime or coming on the podcast Loveline for Business, you can go to lovelineforbiz.com. There's a contact form, or you can DM us in the group.
Yeah, we'll help you out. One more thing. I mean, if you have enjoyed the podcast, please go and rate us on iTunes. I know everybody asks you to do that all the time, but it really does make a big difference. With all that out of the way, Dominic, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
We're looking forward to talking to you. Maybe before we start talking about things we can help you with, why don't you tell us a little bit about sort of where you're coming from and what you're working on?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. And thanks very much for giving up your time. I greatly appreciate it. Yeah, so my situation is that I'm in the skincare arena as an industry vertical. And I have, at the moment, I have 2 different products. Just to go back a little bit more than that, I started following Ryan a couple of years ago, maybe a few years ago, and I actually saw him give a keynote, one of the keynote speeches at Salicon last year. Mm-hmm. And from that, and I think that I don't think that presentation was actually the same sort of presentation that is in his book as well, which is up on my shelf there. So I followed, I've been following him with great interest, and I've definitely found, everything that you guys do incredibly interesting. I joined the group just a couple of months ago. And I think one of the main reasons why I joined the group is because I was just really coming up against brick walls continually with regards to my business. And very, very soon after joining you guys, very quickly the sort of light bulbs went off in terms of all the mistakes that I'd been making beforehand. So that was great, because it at least, for the first time in a long time, I actually was faced with solutions rather than problems. And believe me, I've made every single mistake under the book in terms of launching our products. But yeah, so we're in the skincare vertical. At the moment, we're only selling 2 products. I have another 2 products that I can launch at the appropriate time. But at the moment, we are selling primarily on 2 different channels. We're selling on Amazon, and we're also selling on our own Shopify site. But the majority of our sales come from Amazon, but we have very, very small sales. I'm talking about a couple of units a day. And some days, for instance, in the last 3 days, we actually had 2 days where we actually didn't have a sale. So things have been really, really hard. And what I wanted to talk to you guys, well, the area that I'm in terms of skincare is very, very competitive. I'm up against the L'Oreals. I'm up against companies that are really, really big spenders and have huge advertising budgets. So some of the keywords that I'm trying to run sponsored campaigns on Amazon for are very, very expensive keywords, and they're very, very tough. I'm finding it very, very hard for me to get to the top in terms of organic rankings. So I know I'm diving straight into the Amazon thing, but one of the reasons why I'm doing that is because that's where we're selling.
Okay.
So what I wanted to talk to you guys about, and I was hoping to maybe get some feedback from some of our members as well, is I really would like to pursue a potential new audience and really go about developing that audience in the right manner based on everything I'm learning on the course and everything I've been learning from you guys. So I have done some thoughts on that audience in terms of how I can really be more focused and specialized in a particular niche. And then I just wanted to chat to you guys to get a lot of advice from you where I can.
Sounds good. Dominic, can you tell us a little bit more specifically about your brand and about the 2 products that you have up right now?
Yeah, sure. Do you want to know the brand name or?
If you're comfortable sharing, yeah.
Yeah, the brand name is called Skin Essence, and it's spelled SKINESCENS. And the name of the brand name came about from just, these are the essential products for your skin. So we only make the essentials. We don't make, we don't have this huge range of products. We just have what's really, really needed. And the 2 particular products that we started off with, really, they really meet 2 different criteria, and they're very, very simple. The one is a cleaning function, and it's an exfoliating and a scrub function to clean the surfaces of your skin. And then the second product is an intense hydrating gel, which has got various hyaluronic acids and that sort of thing. The ingredients are very, very good ingredients, and that's all about obviously hydrating your skin, which is one of the most important things for looking after your skin is hydration. The products are priced at about $45 each, which as I understand it is a fairly high priced product on Amazon for that kind of product. The products are manufactured in South Africa, and I bring them into the US. I have a lot of inventory on each of the products, and the original thinking was to position the brand to appeal to sort of the 50-year-old woman, 50-year-old, 45-year-old, 50-year-old woman as a niche. So a little bit like Boom by Cindy Joseph in terms of the way they position themselves, except they're much more on the cosmetic side, the color cosmetic side or cosmetic side, rather than the skincare side.
Okay.
So something that's the basic positioning, but of course, that kind of positioning, even against that age group, I'm in a field of, a huge field of players,
So for the sales that you take on Shopify, how do people find you? Are you doing advertising to get people to the website? Well, I think we'll talk about the Amazon platform second, but I'm curious what you have in terms of like a customer email list, or do you have a Facebook page, Facebook group where you have customers that you can interact with directly?
Yeah, we have about a 10.5K Instagram group, 10,500. We have the email address collection, or our email database is very, very small. It's a few hundred. I think it's like 320 people. So we've been doing address collection through our own website. we've just been through some changes on the site because we moved from a WordPress site to a Shopify site. I made the decision a little while ago that I felt that it was going to better service to be on Shopify than on WordPress. I know that a lot of people don't necessarily agree with that, but after a lot of research and talking to a lot of people in my industry, I made that decision. So our new Shopify site is up right now under skinessence.com. It's not 100% finished, but it's probably 96% finished right now. In terms of Facebook, I think we probably have about 1,000. So Instagram is definitely, where we've got traction. And one of the reasons why we have a decent size audience there is because early on when I originally launched, I actually took on a small PR firm as well as a social media agency that actually helped me just get the press releases out and just do a launch.
Okay.
So the traffic at the moment isn't really being driven to our Shopify site from anywhere really, because I'm not pushing anything at the moment, and I made a decision a little while ago that I wanted to concentrate on Amazon specifically and get some sales traction up over the next 3-4 months, and hopefully within a year get to where I'd love to get to in a year. So that I can free up money to spend money in other areas and dedicate budget to other things.
So in terms of all your customer interactions, it sounds like Instagram is really where you have the most traction.
Yeah.
And what kinds of things do you share on Instagram? What kinds of engagement do you get? And are the people that you have on your Instagram as your followers, are they the customer base that you were originally going after?
I think that the customer base is a very, very much a mixed bag of people.
How did you acquire them,
Dominic? The PR and the social agency acquired them through the campaign work that they did. So I don't know how good the list, the followers are. I wouldn't be able to say right now that it's a perfect group and it's 100% legitimate. I don't know.
And how are you talking to them? I mean, what are you talking to
them? At the moment, I'm not doing anything. I stopped our Instagram posts probably about a month ago. We were doing a lot of regular posts. We were doing posts probably 3 to 4 posts every single week. The posts they were quite product oriented. Talking about the products, the intrinsics of the products, the benefits of the products. We'd put up some testimonials from clients who've been using the product. So the posts that we were doing were very, very product intensive and product focused, which I think was a mistake. I think that was great, but I don't think that, I think we should have been doing a lot more than we were doing.
Okay. I want to take a quick step back, and
sure.
Dominic, can you tell the story about how you selected skincare and these 2 products in the first place?
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't go through a selection process of determining, where I could find a product that would be successful. Like a lot of courses are taught. Find a physical products brand and find an area through this kind of process that will immediately put you in an area where you can succeed if you do all the right things and pull all the correct levers. I didn't do that at all. Basically, my story is that about 3.5 years ago, I moved back to Orange County, California, which is where I am now. From Seattle. I was based in Seattle for about 3 years, and I was actually running an advertising agency in Seattle for the Omnicom Group. And one of our biggest clients was Toyota, and I moved back to Orange County because Toyota at the time was up in Torrance, in California, and I was moved back to actually open an office up in Marina Del Rey to support that business. So I came back to open that office to support one of our biggest clients and service them for what we were doing for them, and which actually predominantly was actually email marketing. I ran an agency which did their email marketing as well as some of their social media. And I was driving up to LA from Orange County, from Irvine, Orange County, up to Marina Del Rey every single day, which is about an hour's drive each way, depending on traffic. Sometimes it can turn into an hour and a half, or worse. So I used to leave home at 6 o'clock in the morning, get to the office at 7 o'clock, and then I'd leave to come home at night at sort of 7 o'clock to miss the traffic to get home at 8 o'clock. And I did that for about 9 or 10 months. And I literally got to a point where I just said, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this. I can't spend 2-3 hours in a car every single day, and I just started thinking very seriously about how I wanted to change my life. And it just so happened at the time that we went through a merger internally within Omnicom, where the agency that I was running was going to be merged with another agency internal agency in Dallas, Texas. So I had just moved back from Seattle. And I had been here just under a year, and I was then going to be moved. The executive team was going to have to be moved to Dallas, Texas. And at that point, I said, I can't do this. I can't move my family again. This is just not something I want to do. I've moved them to Seattle. I moved them back to Orange County, and now I'm going to move them to Dallas, Texas. So I said, I really don't want to do that. So then I started looking at what I wanted to do from a business point of view, and I looked at the areas where I had experience and where I know the marketing side of it and the advertising side of it, the product development side of it. And one of the areas that I looked at, and the reason why I chose skincare, is because my father was actually a cosmetic chemist. And when I grew up in South Africa, my dad was a cosmetic chemist, and he actually had a very small direct selling business. Mm-hmm. So when my father passed away, he actually in his will, he left me about 30 or 40 formulas which he had made, which were undeveloped, but they were left to me in his will. Mm-hmm. So the more and more I thought about, okay, well, I want to be able to run a business from my study or from anywhere, but ideally from anywhere in the world, which I know is a lot of people's dreams. And that sort of led the process of, okay, well, I can develop my own products. I've been doing advertising for companies, for brands for years and years and years, and services. So I really wanted to actually start and have my own brand. And that's
cool.
What it came from.
That's a good story. I'm curious, have you shared that aspect of the story with your customers? Have you ever told the story that you just told us? That
no, I haven't.
Your dad was a cosmetic formulation chemist, and he left you basically these developed but unpublished formulas, and that you're bringing those into existence, into the world to share with your customers who can benefit.
It's a great story.
Oh, thank you so much. I actually haven't told that story. I've only told that story to the people who are very close around me, my very good friends and my family, but it's not a story that I've used as a brand story or put out there. No.
So I think just to quickly summarize, you have some fairly unique products. Like, these are custom formulated products that you own the formulas to. These are not off the shelf private label things. So you have something unique in the market.
Yes.
And it's a high-end premium product, but you're going toe-to-toe with billion-dollar brands that have unlimited ad budgets. They can outspend you on Amazon PPC. I mean, if they can. So I know what you're saying. I've been in markets like that before, where some of the big players will bid on keywords more than the product actually costs, just to keep other people off of page one. So it's very difficult to come in and try to muscle your way in against that kind of competition. So I think that from a very broad view, the way that you need to attack this is to target these products to a specific person. And you mentioned a demographic group, but I would suggest that it could be somebody that you don't expect. So if you start talking about this product and the problem that it solves, like why it's so much better, and think about, who specifically would benefit most from that. Bram and I can brainstorm with you about, who to go after, but collecting that group of people and telling your story so that they want to buy your products and not, L'Oreal or whatever. When you have a group of people that are as committed to these as you are, then it won't matter how much they cost. It won't matter that these other companies are bidding higher on keywords. You can just send this group of people to Amazon to buy. And in terms of keyword strategy, we can kind of look at some long tail things, some low hanging fruit, ways to give you traction, so that you're not doing, skin hydration cream or something. I mean, something that you just, it's going to be too difficult to get on page one initially. You can kind of come around the I'm sorry if you guys can hear that.
We can.
I actually didn't hear it, so it's
fine. Good. Phone calls go into my computer onto my speaker. So
no, we didn't. I didn't hear that
awesome.
At all. That's awesome.
Sorry for the interruption.
No, it's all good.
So I can kind of see a path forward here for you, but it's going to be different than just putting something on Amazon and trying to rank for keywords.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of assumptions I'm making, and I just want to check with you, Dominic, that I'm not putting stuff on you that's not there, because maybe, sure. I mean, if my assumptions are correct, then sort of the ways that I suggest you think about it, very much in line to some of the things that Greg's been suggesting. But I mean, you started this brand, the engagement that you have on Instagram is, like you said, is very product based. So I'm gonna go. It's generic in the sense that your product's different than others, but it's just posts on the product and some testimonials. Is there any kind of back and forth there? Is there a conversation you're having with your customers? And how involved are you in that, or is that something that you should have outsourced?
Yeah, I mean, I did. Well, yeah, thanks. So the engagement is minimal. Mm-hmm. So there's definitely, I would say there's definitely a problem there, that even though that it's a decent size audience, I think when it comes to engagement levels, the engagement's not great. So
because it's pictures of the product, right? And it's testimonials. There's not.
Yeah.
I mean the reason why both of us reacted to the story of you having inherited this from your father, yes. And you have to decide how comfortable you are with sharing this. But this gives, I mean, if you're going up against these big brands and Amazon, nobody has a reason to buy this from you if you present yourself if you try and present yourself like a big brand.
Yes.
Because you don't have the money. And there's plenty of big brands. Even, I mean, everybody claims, a slick video that costs millions of dollars about someone opening a secret vault in Geneva, where the oil of Olay formula is finally revealed, and now you're giving it to everybody. It's just going to be another one of those, as opposed to a much more personal way of telling that story, which, I mean, it takes more work, but I think to some extent, starting to talk about what differentiates your brand and where it came from also gives you an opportunity to talk to your customers and see how they react, mm-hmm. instead of just throwing it out into the ether and then hoping that turns into sales.
Mm-hmm. No, I think that's a very good observation and a very good insight. I think that that is something that I could do. I mean, we've focused sometimes on talking about our ingredients, because some of our ingredients are pretty unique. But having said that, there are a lot of skincare houses and there are a lot of skincare companies that talk about, their, unique ingredients. So I think maybe one of the things that, you guys sort of jumped on it straight away, and maybe in my own mind I haven't really thought about the story as, I haven't really thought about it as that unique. And I mean, I know that it's personal, because then at least it creates a personal connection. But I didn't know if that's going to persuade anybody to buy the product.
I think it will.
Yeah, and you don't have to persuade millions of people. You just need to persuade, 200 people a day.
Right.
No, I mean, in the end, I mean, it's not about, however many sales you need to get for this to start really kicking off.
Yes.
That's the amount of people that you need to persuade. And you don't, and not everybody has to buy into the story. If you have a raving fan base that now will gladly talk to their friends about, everybody likes telling people secrets, right? So everybody likes saying, I've discovered this brand. Like, nobody is excited about going to someone else and said, oh, this new bar of soap from Dove, have you heard about it? Nobody does that, right?
Right.
But if you found a little soap maker in a village that you went through when you were on vacation in Vermont, and they have a site, or they sell, or you discover that they sell on Amazon, or they have like a Shopify site, and now you can tell your friends about it because you had a really, really cool interaction in their store, and you really bought into them and what have you. That's really fun for the person to share as well. So
right,
creating those kind of ways of connecting with you, they afterwards they multiply, because it allows people to tell this secret cosmetics that they found. That's
cool. I like that a lot. I did have a thought. I wanted to know if I could just bounce this off you guys. So I feel like I have everything in place. Like, when it comes to following the strategy of 5 unit sales a day, one product, and then adding a second product, 5 unit sales a day, and I'm talking about obviously getting to $1 million of revenue in 12 months and following that strategy. And I have, when it comes to developing a brand portfolio, I have everything in place for that. I have the next 3 products or 4 products. I have them all there to develop. In fact, 2 of them are already underway. So a lot of the operational side of it, I feel that I have a very good grasp of, and I know what I need to do in that respect. And I know that the products that I'm going to add are going to be very, very good products. But when it comes to this audience and telling the story, or putting aside the story, but when it comes to an audience, I'm a very, very, very keen cyclist and a very keen swimmer. I used to be a rugby player many, many years ago, but I was tired of my nose getting broken. So I sort of, on the weekends, I cycle about 120 miles every weekend, and I swim about 2 miles during the week. I live in a lovely place right next to a half-size Olympic swimming pool. So I'm very, very fortunate in that respect. And the audience of cyclists and triathletes and swimmers and that as a group is a group, because I used to do some cycling races, not at an elite level or anything like that, but they were more fun rides, Grand Centuries and 100 milers and that sort of thing. But I used to do a lot of those with my friends, like 3 or 4 or 5 of them every single year. But it's an audience that obviously it's a passion of mine, and I know that you guys have spoken very deeply about, if you can't sort of find an audience or find a solution, then perhaps look inwards, which is what I started doing. And I also think that the 2 products that I initially have, when I look at those, with the 2 products that I currently have, when I look at that audience, they definitely would, in my mind, resonate well with the audience, because it tends to be those sort of athletes, or those sort of cyclists, triathletes, swimmers. They spend a lot of money on their equipment and making sure they got the right bikes, etc., etc. They also obviously take a lot of care in what they eat, because that's the only way that you can optimize your fitness levels and get better at what you're doing. So they take a lot of those areas. They train hard. They spend a lot of time training very, very seriously. But I think that many of them don't take a lot of care with their skin. And most of the in the research that I've been doing since I came across this idea. I came up with this idea a few months ago from the course. From the research that I've done, the skincare products tend to concentrate in one area, and it's like sun protection, because these athletes are out in the sun all, they're always training in the sun. And so, but when it comes to their skin, once they're not training and once they're not racing and they're at home, and they would typically be really careful about what they're eating and all that sort of thing. But how they go to bed at night after they're showered and what they put on their skin. And I'm purely talking about face.
Right.
Just so you know, the two products that I have are completely face, they're not body. So,
Dominic, I have a question.
I'm rambling.
No problem whatsoever. Do you use your product?
Yes, I do.
Very good.
Yeah.
And did you use these kind of products before you inherited these formulas from your father?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
No, I was very much, before that, I was very much sort of basic, clean your face with soap. And as you can see, I've got very little hair to worry about. So
Interesting. So do you think that you could position these two products as solving a specific problem for cyclists or swimmers or triathletes? I mean, you do.
I do. The one product, the hydration product, most definitely, because it's a double hyaluronic acid product. So the hyaluronic acids are there to perform two different functions. The one is a micro and at a macro level, micro and macro level. So the hydration and the hyaluronic acids are made to permeate into your skin underneath the layers as well as on top. So what they won't do is the products won't provide any kind of sun protection factor protection. So they really will need to be used, before or after training, ideally after training. And then the other product, the exfoliator, I definitely think that story can be, because like when I think about swimmers, they're swimming, they're training spend a lot of hours in the swimming pool. They, they're in either salt water, or otherwise they're in chlorine water. And that for long periods of time, it really can damage your skin. So the exfoliator really does a tremendous job of actually clearing away dead cells off your skin. So I do, this is what I'm thinking, which is not all. That's only one side of the story. I've really got to find out from people who out there who are athletes, triathletes, cyclists, and swimmers what they think.
Do you have a network of so you used to participate in some of these things, or you do?
Yes.
Do you have people that you can ask to say, hey, I have these products and it solves this problem, and I'm wondering if you'd be interested in trying it out, and tell me what you think.
I have people, but they really are friends. Outside of my core, group of buddies and friends, I don't really have anybody who can look at it from a completely unbiased point of view.
Okay.
Or tell me what I want to hear.
Certainly. So I have a couple thoughts here. You mentioned earlier that you did have some good testimonials from current customers.
Yes.
Have you reached out to those customers and spoken with them about their experience, or reached out to them to thank them for their feedback? I'm just wondering, if you do decide to go after, let's say, swimmers, if you can get the product out into the hands of some people who are either influential in the sport or have social media followings, or are, successful in a, competitive nature in the sport. If the products solve a noticeable problem for them, then I think it will be really easy for you to share those testimonials with
Right.
others, and also ask them to just kind of spread the word.
Right.
So I think that's a really interesting approach, and I think it's worth pursuing. I would definitely start talking to people in that community, and just see if you can get volunteers. And if you're willing to even, give away 10 units to people who you think can kind of move the needle for you, or
Right.
At a steep discount or something, but just get it in the hands of the right people.
Mm-hmm.
And then based on that feedback, start sharing that feedback with others, and let those people kind of help you start building the audience that you actually want to serve.
Right.
I mentioned before that the key to getting these products into a successful place is going to be having a niche like you just described, like people that are going to carry it forward for you,
Mm-hmm.
so that it's not you trying to go against L'Oreal with keyword rank.
Yeah.
So I think that's a very, very interesting approach. So what I was going to mention earlier, before you mentioned kind of this angle, is just getting really deep with your current raving fans,
Mm-hmm.
and seeing what you can do to serve them better, and ask them to share with others. But then also looking for influencers, micro influencers. And originally I was going to mention, looking into like the older female demographic skincare, see if you can find people on Instagram, again, where you can share your product with them, and then you have kind of like an influencer relationship with them.
Okay.
But if you want to go the cyclist and swimming route, do the same thing, but in those segments.
Okay.
But yeah, I think that's a really good approach.
But are you thinking of abandoning the female demographic, or are you thinking about pursuing both demographics?
Well, the products are definitely gender neutral products, but the female demographic, just in terms of female spend on skincare is, just the weighting is just massive. And
yeah. It sounds like you want to do that because it seems like a good idea on paper, right? It's a big market.
Yeah.
But you're not really attached to it. You don't seem very passionate about it. You just know that it's
I'm really glad you asked me that question, because and just to go back to some of your other points, I've got no problem with giving away products for people to test it. That's so because I've got a lot of stock, and so that's not a problem. I think that's I think the one aspect is there's I've lost a little bit of confidence, because I'm always, I've always been in the marketing and advertising business, and I've always, come up with concepts and strategies and creative development and actually media strategies and all that sort of thing for clients. And maybe naively, I probably thought this was going to be easier than it has been. So I think that, I definitely think that I got a rude awakening. In terms of what I thought, was going to be fairly easy. Well, certainly I thought I was going to be able to cope with it. But and I think that's in terms of, in terms of being passionate about the cyclists and the swimmers and that sort of thing, I guess one of the big questions for me is what both of you have said, but what I'm hearing from you is how to better serve that group. So when I think of, and I know, that's obviously something that Ryan is pushing all the time. You guys are pushing it all the time. How can I better serve you as opposed to, buy my product? Mm-hmm. And I think that I'm really struggling with how am I going to better serve them, because I'm selling products. So when it comes to the service side of, me servicing an audience, or how I can better serve that audience, I think that's a real struggle for me. I just can't seem to think of, how am I going to do that?
it's a difficult question because there's sort of a there seems to be a cognitive dissonance. How can service equal? I mean, you're running a company whose aim it is to make money, right?
Right.
And nobody's denying that. And nowhere, whether it's us or Ryan or anybody else talking, is suggesting that you run a charity. I don't think that exists in any of the. But then how do you concentrate on service and not turn that into and abandon, as it were, the fact that you're pushing product?
Right.
I don't think anybody's suggesting that you don't talk about your product. Or
No, I wasn't thinking that either, that I don't talk about the product, but when it comes to how can I better serve this group of people, I guess I'm struggling with,
what's the problem?
Ideas to better serve them.
Right. So that comes from asking the question, what are the problems that I can solve? And are there other problems that are adjacent that you can talk about, so that you're not just talking about defoliation and hydration, but in general? I mean, you can talk about like competitive sports and being outdoors all day, and sort of the things that come up, environmental impact from being in salt water and then chlorinated water and what have you. And talking about how to deal with that. And especially if you're going after people that have crossed their 40s, it's not just the fact that, I mean, you used to be able to go outside, get a sunburn, you'd shed some dead skin and you'd be fine. And, the more environment that you're exposed to, the more care you need. And then some of the solutions to this are solutions that you offer, and the rest you can offer just solutions, or just talk about that experience and allow.
Yeah, that's sorry.
No, that's it.
So
yeah, that definitely makes sense to me. For instance, there are parts of the world where they have very serious pollution problems, and skin pollution is a very big thing these days. It's really, really damaging. So there are a lot of areas where, if you're saying that me educating or talking to people around those kind of things is serving them better, then
you can kind of test. I mean, all of those things will speak to a certain person, and you have to decide if it's your person. If it doesn't speak to your person, you don't really need to mention it. So I think the first thing you need to do is decide who you really want to go after, understanding that there's probably not a wrong answer. But what, if you're serving the 55-year-old female versus competitive swimmers, very, very different marketing. I think either one will succeed. If you're more passionate about going the athlete route, I think it's unique enough that it's a really interesting route. I haven't seen anybody doing skincare for a specific athletes, but if you can make the case that this is something that needs to exist for swimmers, that makes a lot of sense to me. Saltwater, chlorine, we know those are damaging.
Yes.
It sounds like a really interesting opportunity. I think, though, you mentioned that you're a little bit your confidence is kind of bruised right now.
A little bit. Yeah.
I think probably the way to approach it is, Bran mentioned this earlier, like if people want to buy from a big brand, they can go buy from a big brand. And I don't know specifically what your marketing background was, but I'm wondering if you kind of came at this from the mindset of a big brand because you've dealt with them in the past. And I think the approach in this case is going to be...
I think you hit it on the head.
I think it just needs to be 180 degrees. You need to be the un-big brand, right? So you are not a big brand. And I think you should be very careful to never come across as a big brand, but instead be very personable, be very relatable, and just create a relationship with your customer where it's you talking to them, not them talking to a brand. And I think you'll pick up a lot of traction like that. I was going to suggest taking a look at the marketing of two other brands that came to mind. Both owners are in the 1%. I'll mention the brands, and then I'm pretty sure the owners are fine with like having people know what they run. I know. So Courtney Lee, Primal Coffee Creamer, Prymal.
Oh yes, and I listened to her. Okay, yep.
She's amazing at being very not a big brand. She's very personable on Instagram. I mean, she just responds to everybody. It's like you can just DM her on the page, and she'll talk to you personally. And
I listened to her podcast. She came across as very, very personable.
She is, and I have a ton of her products up in my shelf in my kitchen. And
cool.
The way that she engages with her customers, I think, is a lesson that for anybody else. She's so good at being personable and just talking to the customer and being honest about, who she is and what she's doing, and not trying to be like a big brand. I mean, she's the opposite of that, and she does it so well. So shout out to Courtney. You did a great job.
Awesome.
The other company I wanted to mention, and if again, I'm not sure if the owner wants himself associated with the company in this group. I don't know. I'll ask him later. But the company is called Element 26, and it is a fitness gear brand. And if you look at their marketing, it's very, very well done with going kind of the influencer route. So on Instagram mainly, they've put their products in the hands of elite CrossFit athletes, and they just kind of let them just show what the products can do. And so again, I don't think they come across as like this, big multinational brand. I mean, they're small, and their customers know they're small, but they serve the hell out of their customers. Like, they have the best product on the market in a couple of different areas, and they've put their products in the hands of successful and influential people in the space. And that's kind of what that brand is built on. So two kind of different approaches, and I think you could go either way. So if you go the athlete route, I would definitely take a look at kind of how Element 26 handles a brand that's built around athletes. But I would also, I think, use Primal just as a model of how to interact with customers in a way that's not, kind of this phony big brand thing. So
I think thanks very much for that. I think you definitely hit it on the head in terms of the way we went about things, and the way and if you look at it, for instance, if you look at our current packaging right now, it's our packaging is, I mean, it's really, really beautiful. The bottles, the components are beautiful. The outside, I mean, some people look at our packaging and they actually say your packaging looks a little bit like Chanel's. So, that's so we haven't cut any corners with regards to all of that side of it, the product development, the packaging, and all that sort of thing. We've really kind of done a Cadillac job there,
But I think, I mean, if you maintain the female demographic, you may want to consider sort of a reframing. I'm not suggesting you change the packaging or any of that. I mean, that it might be a little bit late for that, and might not necessarily be a problem. But the reframing is the way that you talk to your customers, telling that story that to you seems very normal because it was your dad and it's just something I handed down. Why would anybody else care where that came from, right? But talking more about being a small company, the fact that it's sort of a family, even if it's like a family secret handed down. Even the transformation that you went through, going from this company is started by someone worked in the corporate world, but decided for all sorts of reasons, depending on how comfortable you are talking about it. It doesn't even have to be you talking about it. You can have someone else be the representative, but saying, Dominic, didn't want to move his family around anymore, and suddenly the universe made it happen. That he inherited these formulas, and now here he is.
Mm-hmm.
And work on nurturing a more personal, interesting, offbeat kind of a relationship. You can even talk about the fact that, okay, so we really pulled out all the stops, and this is like a AAA product, but the most special part of this product is how good it is, or the fact that it's this really good formula, or it's something that I've that's come from my family, as opposed to it looks almost like a Chanel product.
Right.
Because if it looks almost like a Chanel product, then why not just buy Chanel?
Yeah, exactly right. No, that's good. That's great, Bram. I like that thinking a lot. I think that I really wasn't sure if that's I'm not sure. I mean, obviously it's something I've overlooked. I didn't think that story was enough to resonate or kind of have a real point of difference.
I would have a conversation. There's a bunch of people that commented in Facebook and reacted to some of the ideas. Dive deeper with them and see what they're doing. I think that'll give you something to work with. If you want sort of things to help you brainstorm how to think of this like a little boutique approach, as opposed to like a big brand. If you're into cycling, I mean, think about like a really nice leather seat, right? Made by someone, handmade by someone. And look at, I don't know, what have you bought for your sports that was, rather than being a big brand, was from someone who made it kind of bespoke for you? Or maybe you never had one, but you always admired your friend that had this entirely handmade bike. And go look at how they sort of, how the kind of boutique, small manufactured things that your triathletes would, that the kind of people that would be willing to spend $40-50 on facial products, what else do they like spending money on? And see if you can sort of talk and gear your brand to fit in with that kind of feel. Like how would that fit in? Like really. Just like you have, in elite travel, you have, these handmade bags and all sorts of other things that people. So when you try and market to that demographic, if you can sort of naturally fit in, you can have people identify your brand with those things that are already out there. Fit in with the story.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice. I mean, I think. As soon as you mention more boutique brands, I definitely know of, boutique brands in the cycling industry that, where they've, I know, for instance, there's a brand which produced cycling saddles, seats, and they've gone back to, very much, it's, the brand actually came out of a small village kind of town in the UK, in England. And it was very much about sort of, the handmade saddle. So definitely I can think of examples of those kind of brands in some of the categories or some of the areas that I know of.
Yeah, that'll help you with the storytelling.
Yeah.
So Dominic, what do you think is your next step?
I think that, I definitely would like to test amongst the two audiences, the the 55-year-old female skincare. I've always been a little bit concerned about that because it's still so broad, So I don't know if it's niche enough for a brand such as ourselves to trying to get out of the gate and get some traction. But I definitely would like to test it. So I think my next steps are to test these thoughts. I think that if I can script or just put down the story, and then definitely with regards to actually putting the products in the hands of of the people, of the audience that I'm hoping to focus on, and get some feedback from them and start there. And then I think the other aspect obviously is I'll look at these brands that you've mentioned to me, and also just engage, with our Facebook group and maybe talk to the people in our Facebook group a little bit more.
Would you be open to making a post in the 1%, kind of summarizing that decision between two audiences? Because I think there's a lot of people, just looking at the comments from the live viewers we have, I think you'll get some interesting ideas and feedback from others in the group about pros and cons of going after each of those markets. And, you might get some ideas and of approaches for each one, and then that can potentially help you to decide. But
that's awesome.
The group is awesome. And I think if you pose that in there, that you'll get some valuable feedback.
Yeah, that's great. No, it's an absolutely fantastic group. I'm loving it. Yeah, great idea. I'll definitely do that.
Cool.
Excellent. I really enjoyed talking to you. It's
You too, Brian.
It's always interesting having these conversations. There hasn't been a single one of these, whether it's here or on the podcast, that I've had and I've walked away and thought, shit, I haven't learned a damn thing. Usually the opposite is true. And the journey that we're all on in trying to figure out what it is that we want to do, how to do it, and what that says about ourselves is infinitely fascinating.
Yeah, for sure.
It's great having you on.
Thank you.
We'll be back next week. Who do we have next week? Craig, do you remember?
I can click a button and find out.
Okay.
We have...
Faster clicking, Craig. Faster clicking. It doesn't matter. We'll let you know in the group.
We have Don Pensack on next week.
Okay. Good. Looking forward to that as
Greg,
well.
thanks very much for your time. Thanks again, Bram. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Dominic. We hope this was helpful, and
very helpful.
Reach out to us anytime, and we'll be happy to do what we can for you.
Cool. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
All right. Take care. Cheers, guys.
We're still live on Facebook.
Yeah, I'm trying to. It's probably the reason that everything has been screwy today is because my memory is being eaten up. It's thinking very hard trying to quit. But that, guys, if you're still listening, is just technology. It's wonderful.